are Irene,
Sira,
and Laura. And in today's video, we are going to talk about the 14th century crisis, its causes, and the wars involved in this crisis. At the beginning, it might seem difficult, but if you pay attention and listen to us, we are sure you will understand the concepts and find out this topic is interesting and enjoyable. So, let's get started!
First of all, how did everything start? Well, due to the bad weather and low quality lands, we are going to have poor harvest and population decline. But things don't end up here, because to worsen the situation, and after a series of bad harvests, the Black Death arrived to the Iberian Peninsula. The Black Death was one of the most devastating pandemics in human history. It killed about 2/3 of the Iberian Peninsula. Because of this, there was a crisis in economy, and prices were rising. Rural areas were abandoned, and lords responded increasing taxes. The urban situation worsens, and the peasant situation worsens as well, because they had to pay higher taxes to the nobility, which also put pressure on the kings by demanding more land. Jews are going to be blamed. People is going to accuse them of poisoning water wheels and causing the Black Death. This was because there was no knowledge and people was jealous. People was jealous because Jews always had a really good positions in society. This was because Jews gave a lot of importance to education. But thing is, people was jealous and they blamed the Jews who were persecuted. These persecutions are called pogroms. There were urban and peasants' riots, and this ended up in a conflict between the nobility and the monarchy. Nobles are going to rebel against the monarchy, demanding the restoration of their privileges that had been slowly taken away by the king and expansion of their territorial control. The Trastamara dynasty is going to occupy the Castilian throne in the mid-14th century, thanks to the support of the high nobility. Everyone suffered at this crisis, even nobles that wanted to keep their high standard.
But this crisis isn't over. Hold on, because now we're going to explain what happened during the two Castilian civil wars. The first Castilian civil war started in the year 1366 and ended in the year 1369. This war is going to start because of two main issues. Peter I, who was the current king at the moment, started El Libro de los Beatrias, which is an inventory of the nobles' possessions. He did this to control the nobles, to know exactly what they could or couldn't offer him. Example. If he asks for 2 horses, and the noble he's asked to denies to give them to him, he could perfectly say, "You can give them to me because you've got 4. He did this to control nobles' possessions, and as I previously said, is control, so nobles don't like that. But he also started a policy to support the cities, because he realized about the importance of trade, etc., the importance of cities in general. He started a policy to support the bourgeoisie. Because of this, nobles rebelled. So, Henry of Trastamara, the king's illegitimate brother, illegitimate means born out of marriage. Nowadays, it's normal, but it wasn't well seen by people back in those days. So, Henry made a kind of deal with the nobles. He promised the nobles he would restore and expand their privileges if they helped him remove Peter from the throne. And in 1366, a violent civil war began. This war continued until 1369, in the Battle of Montiel, where Henry of Trastamara finally defeated Peter. After being defeated, Peter hid in the castle of La Estrella, in Montiel, but Henry killed him there. Can you guess why? Well, because Peter was legitimate, so if he ever rebelled, he had the law on his side, but also in case he had children. For example, his own nephew could rebel against him. Henry became the new king, beginning the Trastamara dynasty. He granted land and privilege to the nobles, thanking them for their support. Now, we're going to continue speaking about the Second Castilian Civil War, which started in the year 1475 and ended in the year 1479. This war resulted as a consequence of the death of Henry IV. Henry's sister, Isabella, challenged Henry's daughter, Juana la Beltraneja, who had the support of some of the high nobility, for the throne. But Isabella didn't give up. She continued to assert her royal authority and she proclaimed herself Queen of Castile. With the reign of the Catholic monarchs, Middle Ages arrived to an end in the Iberian Peninsula. They are going to impose royal power, ending with rebellions. Their foreign policy, plus the discovery of America, will inaugurate a new time, modern ages.
Well, these were the two Castilian civil wars, but now we're going to explain the most severe military conflict that took place during this crisis, the 100 Years' War between France and England, that lasted from 1337 to 1453. This war started because Charles IV of France died without an heir, and Edward III of England, who possessed some territories in France, believed he had the right to the French throne. Although the English occupied a large part of France for years, the war ended with the victory of France. His victory strengthened and supported the idea of a monarchy, tied to national territory, and so the beginning of the end of the feudal monarchy. Here arrives the end of our explanation of the 14th century crisis, causes and wars. Of course, more events took place during this period, but these are some of the most remarkable ones.